This is Dan, and this is the Napkin Academy. This lesson, we're going to finish out imagining now by finishing out the last letter in our SQUID, D, of course, which stands for difference. Well, remember that D tells us, as we're thinking about our idea, do I want to show how it is now, as is, fancy term, of course, otherwise as status quo, or do I want to show how it might be different? What's more important as I think through, using my imagination, this idea? Now, why is this one important? Well, let's say that this is today. This is, of course, the status quo. This is what we have right now. And let's say that's what it looks like. Okay, we may be very happy with that. We may be curious about that, but that's what we've got. That is as is. Good or bad, it's what we've got. But out here, at some point in the future, we can imagine that that thing might be different. And it might be different in this way. Maybe there's more of them, or maybe they've changed their form. But the point is, in order to be able to get out to that future state and not let it happen, we don't want to let the future happen. We want to make the future happen. We need to be able to see what we have now and imagine how it might be different and how that might be better. So let's look at some examples. I could tell you that today, where I live, is very rainy. That's what I have today, as is. Rainy weather. Is rainy weather going to stay that way forever? What might it be if it were different? What might it be in the future? Well, perhaps I could have a really sunny day. That's certainly one way it could be different. Another way that it could be different is I could have a partially cloudy day. The point is, what I have now does not determine, does not effectively show what I might have if things were different. Another example could be something more on our quantitative example. I could draw a little XY plot. You guys know how I love to make my XY plots. And we could say that as is state is time, money, time, money. As is, we're just kicking along like this. Over time, we're going to make exactly the same amount of money, and there we have it. Well, what are some options? How might it be different? Well, if this is what we have now, one difference is that over time we could make more money. That would be good. Another difference is that over time we could make less money, and that might not be so good. Whoops, because eventually, boom, we crash, and that's the end of our business. So as we're looking at these pictures and we're saying, this is what we have, this is what it could be, it's not just that it shows us a one difference. When we start to think about differences, we can imagine all kinds of differences. This option, this option, this option, and maybe some crazy option way over here that we never even thought about. That's the one we're exploring for when we move from drawing how it is to drawing how it might change. I think one more example would be today, as is. As we look over our finances, we might say that we've got 5 cents. That's what we've got in the bank right now. Well, how might that be different as we change things over time? Well, on one hand, we could end up with a penny. We could end up with 1 cent. Or on the other hand, we could end up with $1. Which one do we want to have? Do we want to go that direction or do we want to go that direction? Making choices about making the difference between what we have now and how it could be different. So using the SQUID as our imagination guide and all the way gotten through to the end, when would we want to show something that's different versus something that is as is? When would we want to show the difference? Well, let's go ahead and start with when we want to show something as it is. No changes. Here's what we have. When, of course, that's the simple answer when we want to say, well, what do we have? What do we have? Do we have this? Do we have this? Do we have this? What do we have? Well, let's draw a picture that shows what we've got today. That's another way to think about it. I want to show what I have today. What do I want to show about today? Well, how do we do it today? How do we do it? Well, we do it like this. This is the process that we use today, for example, and we're really intrigued by this particular area right here. That's how we do it today, as is. Why do we get this result? Why do we get the results that we get today? Well, perhaps because we do it this way, we can guarantee that there will be some consistent outcome as long as we keep doing things exactly the same way. Why do we get this consistent result? Because we keep doing it in the same way. And the last reason why we might want to draw an as-is picture, well, I already said it, is if we put all these together, we get what we call a baseline. This is how things operate today, our baseline. Everything is going to grow off of what we already know and how it already works, and why do we always get this same result? That's as is. So flipping it around, when would we want to show something being different? When would we want to show something being different? Well, there are a couple of reasons. One is we're not satisfied with the way things are, and we want to know how we can change it. So what we might be saying is, let's aim for something else. Aim for change. Why? Because we want to end up in a different place than if we just continue on the same path that we're on now. Aim for change. Why would we want to aim for change? Well, perhaps because we believe that we can make it better. You know, whatever it is that we're doing now, perhaps if we make a change, we can make that thing better. That's why we might want to show how we would do it differently. Another, of course, is the flip side of that. What would we want to avoid to make sure that we don't make things worse? Maybe we're bumping along here like this, and maybe there were certain changes we could make that would make it worse. How would we know unless we could compare? Unless we could see the difference between what we have and how it might be different. And really the last one is, summarizing all of these, measuring off of our baseline. If this is what we have today, how might it be different in the future if we make some of the kinds of changes that we're talking about? And what might those changes actually look like? Let's go ahead and wrap up this story of difference versus as is with a story of a client that I worked with a few years ago that was a very, very big bank. And the bank had realized, although it was very successful, that its policy of open communication, its open door policy within the bank, had been very successful in terms of getting everybody to be able to communicate very, very well and very openly with everybody else. So everybody within the organization had a really good view on what was happening no matter where you went within this big bank. But then after a little while, people started to get a little bit frazzled because they realized they were spending so much time communicating that they suddenly became aware that they didn't actually have all that much time to get their real work done. There was so much email coming in. There was so many phone calls coming in. There was so much, let me draw my classic old phone, of course. There was so much on the intranet. There was so much news coming in from the intranet. There were so many announcements coming in that all of a sudden what had been a wonderful opportunity for everyone to communicate was starting to become a nightmare, because all of these people are now trying to reach me over here, and I'm trying to get my work done, and it's just completely crazy because I'm being pelted by all of these different channels of communication all the time, and because of the excellent culture of this bank, I'm expected to be able to respond. Well, all of a sudden people panic. They're not getting able to get their work done. And the bank commissioned a study. What else is a bank going to do when it realizes that it has a problem? It commissioned a big study. And you know what the study revealed? That in the end of the day, if you looked at all of the people who were working at the bank, the average amount of time that everybody had to actually focus on one project at one time and not be distracted was about 4 minutes. So this was an example of a crisis. As it is. This is the situation we have. So that was the picture that we drew that showed snapshot, what we got. Here it is. Well, let's draw another picture now to show how it might be different. Imagine what might happen if instead of letting all of these different tools come directly to me, that we put a system in place that allowed me to block myself off a little bit through a set of smart filters. We called them a series of lenses that allowed me to say, at given times, given different projects and different teams, there are different types of information that I need, and those can be tagged and made pretty clear based on discrete types of information that can be associated with most of these different message types. So not only when someone wants to send me a message do they just send me an email, they can send me the email, they could send information through the internet, they could probably even make a call. What's going to happen is that information will go through this set of filters that I have set, filters A, B, and C, that are again dependent on so many different factors, and the information gets through to me when I need it. Now that was how things might change. So that's what I mean by the example of a picture that shows difference versus as is. And as we bring our 5 questions of the SQVID to a close, I want you to make one last set of pictures. I'd like you to show your orange as it is now or how it might be in the future. I'd like you to show a computer as it is now or how it might be in the future. Or if you'd pick the car, go ahead and make 2 pictures that show your car as it is now. What do cars look like and how do they operate now? And how might cars change? How might they be different at some other point? Go ahead. Let's do it.
Hey, thank you all for another great lesson. This is Dan signing off from the Napkin Academy, but don't go away. Now on our new platform, you can still submit your homework. Debbie, our community manager, is going to join you right now to show you exactly how to do that. And I really encourage you, do your homework. Okay, take it away, Debbie. See you soon.
We hope you enjoyed this Napkin Academy classic video. We've made it easier than ever to share your homework. After you've completed your homework and have a JPEG or PNG file saved on your computer, come back to this course. Once you're back here, scroll to the bottom of the screen, and in the comments box, you can add a comment. I'm just going to call this one My Homework. You can also add images by clicking on the Insert Edit Image button here. In the source box, click on the file. In the Images window, click on Upload, and then click on Add Files. This is going to take you to your computer where you can search for your images. I'm just going to search for mine in Pictures, and I'm going to choose this image here. You can also add multiple images here. Click Upload. After the upload is complete, click Close. Then scroll down, and you'll see that the last image is here, and it's checked. This is the one we just uploaded. Click Insert. I suggest in the Dimensions box you change the maximum to 1200 pixels and leave the Constrained Proportions box checked. You can also add an image description here if you'd like. Click OK. You'll see that your image has been added to your comment. And now the last step, the most important one, make sure that you click the green comment button here to upload your homework to the Napkin Academy. We hope to see your homework soon.